Hello and welcome to Transfermarkt TV. My name's Stefan Bienkowski, he's Manuel, and today we are talking about a very impressive young striker called Randal Kolo Muani from Eintracht Frankfurt. And the reason we're talking about him is because he's been heavily linked with a move to Paris Saint-Germain. Independent reporter Miguel Delaney came out with a really interesting report recently pointing out that, the Ligue 1 side are desperate to sign Kolo Muani. They look like he'll be their kind of big summer blockbuster signing. Manu, let's just kind of jump straight into this. You and I are big fans of the Bundesliga, but maybe a lot of people watching this aren't. So for anyone who hasn't been kind of catching up in the Bundesliga over the last season, why don't you just kind of run through the numbers to explain why someone like Kolo Muani has attracted interest from the likes of PSG?
Yeah, I mean, you just look at his numbers, right? 15 goals and 14 assists in his first Bundesliga season, and that's in 32 games. Also was part of the French national team at the World Cup. Of course, he was the striker who missed that big chance just before the end of extra time. They could have won it for France, but nonetheless, he played a very strong tournament there. I have to add as well that Frankfurt signed him on a free transfer for Nantes, right? And since then, his market value has gone to insane 80 million euros. And probably justified considering what the striker market looks like at the moment, with a lot of clubs looking for a center forward. I have to stress though that I don't actually think he is a classical number 9, even though he's built like a classical number 9. He actually started the season with Frankfurt playing more on the wing, right? And you look at some of his underlying stats, especially his triple stats, where he's very comparable to a certain Kylian Mbappé, who we're going to talk about a little bit later on the show. You get the impression that he's actually more comfortable coming off the wing. Nonetheless, very impressive player, only 24, took the Bundesliga by storm, is playing for a club that has done really well developing strikers in the last few years, right? A lot of talented strikers have come through Eintracht Frankfurt and made a career elsewhere. So, yeah, it makes sense that a club like PSG are now interested in him.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there in regards to what type of player he is, which I think is probably not, in fact, it's often a common misconception to think he is an out-and-out number 9. You look at his numbers and they actually kind of do give it a suggestion of this. 15 goals, but also 14 assists in the Bundesliga this season. So he's a player who certainly can score goals, but he's also a player who can create goals as well. And I think it's also worth pointing out just how incredibly handy he has been for Frankfurt this season. He only missed one game through injury this season, ended up playing 46 matches. He's obviously at an age at 24 where you can just kind of throw anything at him, and he's quite happy to play. And he was so instrumental for Frankfurt to the extent that he was able to kind of pick up so many points, so many goal-scoring points, if you want to put it that way, either through goals and assists. So, yeah, if you kind of look at his heat maps or where he plays on the pitch, I guess, technically as a centre-forward, but certainly likes to kind of drift out left and kind of run into the box. Perhaps a little bit like Thierry Henry back in the day, actually, for Arsenal, really. It's maybe an interesting comparison. But, yeah, look, let's get to the kind of bottom line here. People obviously know what we're here to talk about. They've seen the headline in the article. It's hard to kind of look beyond the fact that PSG are looking to sign this player in the same summer that they're probably looking to move on Kylian Mbappé. His contract's up next year. He said he's not going to sign a new one. And, the PSG president has been very clear in regards to that, saying, we want Mbappé to stay around, but if he's not going to stick around, we're going to sell him. And that's certainly what the reporting in the French capital seems to suggest. So, while they might not be like-for-like replacements, Manu, it would seem as though Mbappe is going to be leaving and Kolo Muani might be coming in. So, in a roundabout way, he might end up finding himself as the replacement for Mbappe next season.
Yeah, and I mean, there is some numbers that suggest that he could do it, right? You just look at his successful triples for this last campaign, and Randal Kolo Muani had 32 successful triples where Mbappe had 74. So that's very comparable, right? And of course, you're comparing the Bundesliga to Ligue 1, which a little bit stylistically different. I think what's interesting is that, 15 goals versus Mbappe's 29 goals. So there's a little bit of a drop off there. But then Randal Kolo Muani had 11 assists where Mbappe only had 5, right? So you're replacing one type of player with a little bit of a different type of player. But at the same time, they do occupy the same space if they want to. We saw at the World Cup that they can also play together. So, even if Mbappe by some miracle does stay, I do think there is room for both those players to exist at the same time. But there's a lot of numbers that suggest here that Kolo Muani could come to PSG and actually fill a lot of the needs that they would have if Mbappe does end up leaving. And I mean, it's so hard to say with Mbappe, right? Because how often did we think that he was going to go and was going to join a club like Real Madrid? So, trying to read the tea leaves here like everyone else. But yes, if they choose to sign Kolo Muani, I do think that he would fulfill a lot of their needs.
Yeah, there's also a kind of cultural aspect to this too. Kolo Muani, like Mbappe, is a Parisian, child who came through at the city, and obviously Mbappe has a huge kind of pull to the club in that regard. So, Kolo Muani kind of returning to the city of his childhood and kind of playing for the biggest club there and the biggest club in the country would, not only in terms of filling Mbappe's role on the pitch, but perhaps also filling Mbappe's kind of role as a club ambassador, if you will. And that certainly might be some of the appeal that PSG see in Kolo Muani. So, yeah, we'll have to kind of wait and see how this one plays out. But of course, until we know what's happening next, please do keep your eyes peeled on the Transfermarkt website. You can check out all of Kolo Muani's goals and assists. You can check out Kylian Mbappe's numbers too. And using, our forums, you can also check all the transfer rumors for both players, and not to mention all the features and news as well that we put out on a daily basis. So, do make sure to check that out. Do make sure to like this video, subscribe. Let us know what you guys think. Do you think Kolo Muani would be an interesting replacement for Mbappe? And until next time, I'll speak to you soon.